Well, bless your heart, y'all. Settle in, grab a cup of sweet tea, and let me tell you a story. A story about family, about betrayal, about a little girl with eyes that held a whole ocean of secrets. It's a story that's been sitting heavy on my soul for a long time, a story I ain't ever told nobody, until now. Life here is peaceful, quiet, mostly. But there are some things, some memories, that peace can't quite touch. They're like a splinter under your skin, always there, reminding you of the hurt. This is one of them stories. It all started with Mama. Sweet Mama, gone these past 5 years. Lord, how I miss her. She was the heart of our family, the glue that held us all together, even when things got complicated. She always said family was everything, that blood was thicker than water. She believed in forgiveness, in second chances. I wish I could have told her how wrong she was about some things. See, Mama had 2 daughters, me and Ruth. Ruth was always the favored one. The pretty one, the smart one, the one who always seemed to do things right. Me. I was just Linda, the quiet one, the one who stayed home and helped Mama. I never resented Ruth, not really. I loved her, even when she acted like I wasn't worth the time of day. But after Mama died, well, that's when things went sideways, faster than a runaway train. The day of Mama's funeral, the air hung heavy with grief, thick as molasses. The smell of lilies and rain mingled in the air, a sad perfume that clung to everything. I remember the way the sun seemed to dim, as if even the heavens were weeping alongside us. Everybody was dressed in black, their faces etched with sorrow, except Ruth. She wore a pale blue dress, the color of a cloudless sky. It felt wrong, somehow. Like she wasn't mourning Mama at all. Like she was celebrating something. The will reading was quick and businesslike. Mama had left everything to us, equally. A small house, some land, a modest amount of savings. Not much, but enough to get by. At least, that's what I thought. Ruth had other ideas. That night, at Mama's house, while the rest of the family had gone home, Ruth started in on me, her voice sharp as a tack. She started talking about needing more money for her business venture, whatever that was. It wasn't a business really, y'all. More like a way for her to spend Mama's money as fast as it came. She wanted to take more than her half. She practically threatened to sue, even tried to claim some of the land that I worked like a mule to keep up. I couldn't understand it. This wasn't the Ruth I'd grown up with. The way she talked to me, the bitterness in her eyes, the sheer greed in her heart, it broke my heart into 1,000 pieces. It was like Mama had died twice that day, once when she passed on, and again when Ruth revealed the cold, heartless woman lurking beneath that pretty facade. I spent most of the night sitting on Mama's porch swing, the creaks a mournful song to the moon, just trying to comprehend what had just transpired. The air was cool, but I was shivering down to my bones. It wasn't just the cold, though. It was a cold that came from the depths of my soul, a cold that threatened to freeze everything good and warm inside of me. You know the kind. It wasn't just about the money, either. It was about the betrayal. The fact that my own sister, the person I'd always looked up to, the person I thought I knew, would stoop to such depths of cruelty and greed, it shattered every notion I'd held dear about family, about loyalty, about love. The memories of Mama kept flashing through my mind, all those moments of family together, all her warmth and affection, completely contradicted by Ruth's ruthless pursuit of the material and the lack of genuine sorrow for our mother's passing. And that's when the quiet revenge began to take seed. Not a showy, dramatic kind of revenge, mind you. More of a slow burn, a quiet chipping away at the foundations of her false life. It started small, maybe. But I knew I had to do something, anything, to make her understand that actions have consequences, and that family is about more than just what you can take. I'm not proud of some of the ways I sought retribution. I'm not exactly a saint, y'all. But let me tell you, some things you just can't let go, and I wasn't about to let Ruth get away with what she did. I wasn't about to be silent while she profited from Mama's death. This story ain't about the details of that revenge, though. It's about the journey, about the lessons learned, about the healing that came, eventually. And y'all, it's a long story. But I'll tell you this much, it wasn't just about the money and the bitterness with my sister. It involved a whole lot more heartache and a secret that nearly destroyed our family completely, a secret that would have driven Mama right to the grave if she'd known it. So, if you've got the time, grab another glass of sweet tea, because this one's going to take a while. Well, hello darlings. Settle in, pour yourselves a cup of sweet tea, maybe a slice of pecan pie if you're feeling fancy, because I've got a story to tell. A story that's been sitting heavy on my heart for a good long time, a story I never thought I'd share, but here we are. And Lord, it's a whopper. My name's Linda, and I'm 68 years young. I live in a little town in Texas, the kind where everybody knows everybody's business, whether they want them to or not. I've spent my life here, raised my kids here, watched the seasons change, and felt the steady beat of this quiet community. But some things just shake you to your core. They rattle the very foundations of what you thought you knew about family, about trust, about the goodness of people. This is one of those things. This ain't no light-hearted tale, y'all. This is about betrayal, about secrets buried so deep they almost choked the life out of me. It's about regret, the kind that gnaws at you in the dead of night, keeping you from sleep, leaving a bitter taste in your mouth that no amount of sweet tea can wash away. It's about a little girl, a precious child, caught in the crossfire of a family feud so ugly, so vicious, it made my blood run cold. It all started, well, it really all started the day Mama passed. Now, Mama was a strong woman, a pillar of our family. She'd faced hardship with a grace that always amazed me, and her love was a warm blanket on a cold winter's night. Losing her left a hole in our lives, a gaping wound that time itself seemed reluctant to heal. But what happened after, what my own sister, Ruth, did after, that's what truly broke me. See, Ruth and I, we were always close, or so I thought. We'd shared secrets whispered in the dark, dreams dreamt under the summer stars, and sorrows shed on each other's shoulders. We'd always been there for each other, through thick and thin, through heartbreak and joy, through the laughter and the tears. Or so I believed. The funeral was a blur, a whirlwind of grief and well-meaning condolences. The smell of lilies, so sweet and cloying, still makes my stomach churn when I think about it. I remember the stiff hugs, the forced smiles, the hollow words of sympathy. I remember seeing Ruth there, her face a mask of sorrow, or so it seemed. Those eyes, they held a darkness I hadn't noticed before, a coldness that chilled me to the bone. Little did I know, that coldness was just the tip of the iceberg. In the days following Mama's passing, Ruth started to change. Subtle at first, like a slow poison seeping into your veins. She became distant, withdrawn. Her calls became shorter, her visits less frequent. The easy laughter we once shared was replaced by a strained silence, a palpable tension that hung heavy in the air whenever we were together. The sweet smell of her perfume, usually a comforting reminder of our shared history, now seemed to carry a bitter undercurrent, like something had soured deep within her. Then came the whispers. Not loud, not blatant, but the insidious kind that slithers through the grapevine, twisting facts and adding embellishments until the truth is lost in a morass of speculation and half-truths. Whispers about Mama's will, about money, about how I was somehow taking advantage. Whispers that started to paint me as the villain in this tragedy, the one who'd profited from Mama's death. Those whispers, my darlings, they cut deeper than any knife. They poisoned the well of my relationship with Ruth, and they poisoned the very air I breathed in this small town. I felt isolated, alone, misunderstood, a stranger in the very place I'd called home my entire life. The warm embrace of community I'd always known felt like it had turned icy cold, just like Ruth's eyes. And the scent of honeysuckle, so vibrant in the Texas summer, now seemed tainted, carrying the lingering stench of betrayal. I tried to talk to Ruth, to understand what was happening, to mend the growing rift between us. But my words were met with silence, with cold stares, with a defensive wall that I couldn't seem to break through. The more I tried, the further she seemed to retreat, until she was a stranger, a ghost of the sister I once knew. The gentle touch she once gave me felt a lifetime away. It felt like a nightmare, a slow, agonizing descent into a darkness I never imagined existed. And the worst part, I didn't even know what I'd done to deserve it. That's what makes this story so painful, y'all. That burning question of why, that still echoes in my head to this day. But trust me, my dears, the truth, when it finally came out, was far more shocking, far more twisted, than I ever could have imagined. Well, bless your heart, y'all. Let me tell you a story. A story about family, and secrets, and how sometimes, the quietest folks got the loudest truths to tell. My name's Linda, and I'm 68 years young. I live out in Harmony Creek, Texas, small town, big hearts, and even bigger secrets, some of them. Now, I never thought I'd be sharing this, not even with my closest friends over sweet tea, but Mama's passing, well, it changed everything. Turned my world upside down like a tumbleweed in a hurricane. And my sister, Ruth, Lord have mercy, she showed her true colors that day. Colors I never knew existed, not in my own flesh and blood. And I almost lost everything because of it. See, Mama always told me, Linda, honey, family's everything. And I believed her, with all my heart. We weren't rich, not by a long shot. We lived a simple life in a small house on the edge of town, but we were close. Ruth and me, we were thick as thieves growing up. Shared secrets, shared dreams, shared a whole lot of Mama's apple pie. Ruth was always the clever one. Sharp as a tack, that girl. Always getting the best grades, always making the right connections. Me, I was more of the homebody type. Happy to stay put, tend the garden, and bake those pies Mama loved so much. But we had each other, and that was enough. Or so I thought. After Mama passed, Ruth, she took over everything. The house, the little bit of money Mama left behind, everything. Said it was her right, that Mama always intended for her to have it all. I argued, naturally. I had been just as much a part of Mama's life, cared for her equally. But Ruth, she just wouldn't listen. Her eyes, they were cold, hard, like chips of ice. Not the warm brown eyes I remembered from our childhood. She told me, plain as day, Linda, Mama always favored me. You always knew it. And the worst part? A little seed of doubt, it sprouted in my heart. Had Mama secretly preferred Ruth? I never believed it before, of course. But in those days, in the raw grief and anger I felt, I found myself questioning, for a sliver of a second, whether my whole life had been a lie. The lawyer, he didn't help matters. Said Ruth had a right to everything. The will was clear. All in Ruth's name. I felt so alone, so betrayed. Like I'd been robbed not just of a sister, but of my past, my memories, of my own worth. I spent weeks just staring out the window, watching the dust devils dance across the empty fields, feeling as empty as that same dust. Then one day, while sorting through Mama's things, I found it. A small, worn wooden box tucked away in the back of her closet. Inside was an old photograph of me and Ruth, little girls in matching dresses, laughing in the summertime. And underneath, a letter. Mama's handwriting, shaky but familiar. The letter, oh, honey, that letter. It didn't say what Ruth had claimed. It told a different story altogether. A story of Ruth's greed, her manipulative ways, of how she'd been scheming behind my back for years. It was a confession, really, from Mama. She'd known about Ruth's plans, known how Ruth was trying to get everything for herself. But Mama, bless her heart, she'd hoped Ruth would change her mind. Mama had tried to leave me something, a small amount in a separate account. But Ruth, she'd found out and changed everything before Mama even passed. The lawyer, he was in on it, too. Mama wrote about that. The whole thing reeked of betrayal, a betrayal so calculated, so cruel, that it broke me, my heart shattered into a million pieces. And then, there was the last part of the letter, a whisper of hope, a promise that I'd find a way out, a way to fight back, a way to get my own quiet revenge. It described how to find proof. A hidden compartment in Mama's old sewing machine, a stash of papers and receipts that would show Ruth's lies. This was a battle I could win, my Mama's letter had said. Not a fight against Ruth, per se, but a battle of truth against lies, a duel of justice against injustice. And I, Linda, a quiet, simple homebody woman from Harmony Creek, Texas, I was about to wage war. That letter was my battle plan, and I was ready. That's when I knew. I had to do something. I had to fight for what was right. For Mama, for myself, and for the truth. I spent weeks gathering evidence, gathering strength, feeling that little spark of justice grow inside my heart. This was more than just money, this was about reclaiming my life, my memories, my dignity, and my self-respect. I was going to make Ruth face the music. It wouldn't be easy, but it would be worth it. This wasn't just a story about a sister's betrayal, y'all. It was a story about a woman finding her voice, finding her strength, in the face of unimaginable loss and hurt. And it's a story I'm still writing, one chapter at a time. So settle in, because this is just the beginning. Now, honey, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let me backtrack just a smidge. After that first night, after Lily showed me those papers, the whole world tilted on its axis. That little girl, bless her heart, had been holding on to a secret big enough to swallow a whole town. And me, I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, looking down into a deep, dark abyss. I'd always thought of myself as a sensible woman. A teacher, for goodness sake. I dealt with facts and figures, lesson plans, and report cards. But this was something else entirely. The next few days were a whirlwind. I mean a real Texas twister of a whirlwind. I was moving faster than a jackrabbit in a July heatwave. I photographed every single document, every email, every crumpled receipt that little girl had managed to snag. The Montgomery mansion, which had seemed so grand and imposing at first, started feeling like a suffocating cage, every shadow harboring a hidden camera, every creak of the floorboards a potential footstep of one of those vipers. I felt like I was tiptoeing through a minefield, each step carefully measured, my breath held tight in my chest. The air in that house was thick with secrets, heavy with the scent of expensive perfume and something else, something like fear, but colder, more like the damp chill of a forgotten grave. Lily, bless her innocent soul, she was the bravest little thing I ever did see. She didn't complain, not really. Just watched me with those big, knowing eyes. She'd help me, quietly, efficiently, hand in me documents, pointing out hidden corners where I could find more evidence. It was like she'd been training for this her whole life, quietly observing, patiently waiting for someone to believe her. Evenings were the worst. The phone would ring, Eleanor's sweet, syrupy voice on the other end, checking in. Everything all right, dear? Lily behaving herself. Each call sent a shiver down my spine. I'd force a smile, lie through my teeth, tell her everything was perfect. Lily was sleeping soundly, taking her medicine like a little angel. Meanwhile, Lily and I would be huddled in the kitchen, pouring those pills down the drain, whispering plans, praying those cameras didn't catch us. The kitchen itself felt like a battleground. The gleaming stainless steel, the marble countertops, the fancy appliances, all a backdrop to our hushed conversations, to the quiet rebellion we were waging against a family steeped in money and deceit. Even the smell of the expensive coffee, usually a comfort, felt tainted, a reminder of the hypocrisy and corruption that permeated every corner of that mansion. The smell of burnt pasta, though, that was a reminder of my own initial shock and overwhelmed emotions, a smell that stuck with me long after that horrific first moment. Then there was Michael. Oh, Michael, my sweet, misguided Michael. He was caught in the middle, you see. Torn between his wife and his family. He loved me, I know he did, but he was so desperately seeking their approval, their love. He was like a little lamb caught between wolves. The calls he got from his family, the pressure he was under. I could feel the weight of it on him, the quiet despair in his eyes. I tried to talk to him, to explain things, but he just couldn't, believe me. It broke my heart. It truly did. It felt like he was trying to avoid me, trying to avoid the truth. There were times I thought, would he ever believe me at all? And the silence between us, the unspoken words, they were heavier than any accusation. The day before they were supposed to return, I sat with Lily in her room, looking at the pictures she'd drawn. Simple childlike drawings at first glance, but when I really looked, I saw the fear in the eyes of the stick figures, the isolation, the shadows. It was more powerful than any legal document. Those drawings broke me. They showed me the depth of the cruelty, the insidious way those people had stolen not just her money, but her childhood. And in that moment, I knew I had to fight. I had to fight for that little girl, for her stolen innocence, for the sliver of hope she still held on to. That night, as I tucked her into bed, I felt a resolve stealing my heart, a determination stronger than any fear. We were ready. And then, at 3 a.m., the front door creaked open. I heard voices, muffled footsteps. They were back early. Much earlier than expected. My heart lurched. This wasn't according to plan, and a cold dread settled in my stomach, tighter than a too-tight corset. I knew then that the calm before the storm was over. The storm had arrived, unexpected, and I wasn't sure if we'd survive. But I knew we had to try. We had to fight. For that little girl, for her future, and for our very own peace of mind. And Lord have mercy, it was gonna be a fight. A fight for everything we held dear. The fight was just beginning. Now, honey, let me tell you, that wasn't the end of it, not by a long shot. Even after the dust settled, after Robert and Amanda were hauled off in handcuffs, even after Lily was safe and sound with us, things weren't just peaceful. There was a whole lot of hurt lingering, a whole lotta mending to be done. First off, Michael. Bless his heart, he was a mess. He'd lived his whole life walking on eggshells around his family, afraid to rock the boat. Discovering the truth about his siblings, about his parents, it was like a whole world he'd known crumbled before his eyes. He felt guilty, ashamed, like he'd somehow failed Lily, failed me. We went to counseling, lots of it.